Hey everyone, this is FabryLON. Welcome back. We're going to do today a good old video response, and we're going to do a video response to Femtrooper again, since she did a very interesting video on her most wanted sequels. So I want to do it too. I want to join the fun. Got my list here, piece of toilet paper basically. Just wrote down some titles of games and series which I would like to see these games back. And let's be honest, almost none of this is going to happen. I know that. Maybe one has some chances, maybe let's say 50-50, but most of this and not going to happen. Some of this certainly not going to happen. But hey, that's the fun of this kind of video. We can all live in Fantasyland, I suppose, and just dream and salivate, things that are not going to happen. So let's just start it so I can spend some words for most of them. Just let's start with an honorable or dishonorable mention in a way. Obviously, since this is my video, I have to mention Breath of Fire. I want new Breath of Fire games. Never gonna happen. Never say never, I guess. But with the way Capcom has treated the series, and this is not something new just with that Breath of Fire 6, it's never gonna happen. We're never gonna see another Breath of Fire game, which is a tragedy. But especially with the whole debacle, flop, and garbage of Breath of Fire 6, that was the last nail in the coffin, and Breath of Fire, it's gone basically. So, well, I had to mention it. Let's move to my first real pick, which is again a highly unlikely, and that is I want a new proper Fantasy Star, meaning I want Fantasy Star 5. Again, probably not going to happen because the way Sega has treated the series in a long time, focusing on those online MMO kind of games, which I don't care. I don't give a damn about those. Again, I made an entire video on RPGs I don't like. Those Fantasy Star Online sort of games are really high on that. I mean, I really don't care, don't like those. I want a Fantasy Star 5. I want ideally a new Fantasy Star trilogy or something like. I want traditional Fantasy Star back because those are the games I love. Yeah, I really don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. My let's go even deeper in wishful thinking here. My hopes is that eventually Sega will let Atlus do what they told us from the beginning when they bought Atlus, meaning, hey Atlus, just do what you want with our IPs. So let's just do a Fantasy Star game, for example. That would be pretty neat. I would like that. But again, I want Fantasy Star to return to its origins, return to be a turn-based RPG, basically. And most people would say, like, a turn-based RPG in this day and age, are you crazy, you stupid old man? But again, looking at the success of Octopath Travel on the Switch, or whatever that title of that is, if I say it wrong, why not? It shows that turn-based RPGs, if done well, can still be a thing, actually, in our gaming scope today, in the game scenario panorama. I cannot find the right word, but you know what I mean, right? But I would like a Fantasy Star 5 even more, and though it's even less plausible to me after the announcement, now I think it was like a month ago or something, of that Fantasy Star game on mobile. That was such a big middle finger to people like me, I think. Like, a new Fantasy Star game is coming, and it's exclusive on mobile, and probably will be exclusive in Japan. It was such a huge, like, hey, there you go, to all of us, basically. But and I find it hilarious the fact that every time these companies announce a new game in a series, or especially in a dormant series, well, Fantasy Star it's not dormant, but I remember it happened for Wild Arms, for example, and that was there's a huge excitement over that, like, oh my fucking god, a new Wild Arms game. Are you kidding? Finally exclusive on mobile. I was like, everyone was then, oh, that's not nice. I remember like reading this post on Facebook, and all the comments were like, "That's like, oh no, that's not a good thing." But I mean, I don't hate like the mobile gaming scene. That's fine, but it's not. And I understand why these Japanese companies are pushing a lot for that. It makes sense, but at the same time, it's not the same thing. I was really willing to give a chance to Phantasy Star Nova, but of course they didn't bring that uh, to the West. So I mean, a Phantasy Star 5, it's really really unlikely. Let's put it like that. Next, again, I don't know how unlikely this is. I think it's not going to happen. It's really unlikely. I didn't want to say it again, but I would love to see a sequel to Danganronpa, another episode. I don't want to see a sequel to Danganronpa V3 because I don't think it should have a sequel. With the way Danganronpa V3 ended, I think that's kind of it for Danganronpa. You cannot really follow that ending with with another episode. On the other hand, you can have another game like that. You can it can be just like the original Ultra Desperate Girls was, a sort of in between game between Danganronpa 1 and 2. You can have that, for example, in between Danganronpa 2 and 3. That could be interesting, but especially because that was a really good game. I really, really love the characters. I really like the story. It was crazy and a bit weird, sure, but that's what Danganronpa is all about. Um, it's all about the craziness, the creepiness, the weirdness, and over the top. And Alter the Girls, I think, did that perfectly. I cannot believe how much I enjoyed that game, actually. But I would love a sequel. And the fact is, they actually kind of teased it. But I think it was just that. I don't think they're actually going to do it because in Danganronpa 3, towards the beginning, basically, so it's not a spoiler, you're exploring this room, and all of a sudden you find a poster that say, um, I think it says like Danganronpa Ultra Despair Girls 2 coming soon. But then a character says it's probably just a prank from Monokuma. So that's probably the hint there, like it's not going to happen. So we'll see. But I wouldn't hold my breath for another episode. I would love that. But again, it's probably not going to happen. I don't think we're going to get a new Danganronpa game. Surely not anytime soon, because the team Danganronpa at Spike Chunsoft is working at another game that I cannot remember the name now. That's what happens when you're not prepared. But it's more like a traditional JRPG, which looks actually pretty interesting. I'll definitely look into that. But again, I think they wanted to take a break from Danganronpa because they've done that for like 10 years now. So yeah, they're definitely going to take a break. Maybe we're going to see some random spin-off just to cash in the success. Like I read a lot of like a fighting game. I don't why not, but I would love another episode, but again, not sure it's going to happen. Had to answer a phone call, but I also took advantage of this pause so I could grab a beer actually, since I'm really thirsty. And I got myself a really lovely Goose 312, Goose Island, one of my favorite beers, but also one of my favorite breweries. So I'll really looking forward to drink this bad boy here. There we go. So yeah, I was talking about Danganronpa another episode and how that's I think it's quite unlikely due to the status of Danganronpa series. Let's move on to the next sequel that I'm surprised that it hasn't happened actually, other than maybe the game didn't sell well, like the obvious reasons. Let's refresh the pipes. It's so good. And again, other than just the game didn't do well, which it's a pity because I really love and I really hate this game in a way. I have such a love-hate relationship because I can see the potential and it's a lot of fun, but it can be so frustrating. And you might guess it because I mentioned it quite some time, and that's Freedom Wars on the Vita. I think a sequel would be amazing, especially if done in a certain way, which I was thinking about it. Let's another development team working on it, and my first thought, of course, was let Platinum Games develop a sequel to Freedom Wars. And I was thinking, like, in terms of gameplay, maybe something like Nier Automata would be pretty fantastic for Freedom War. I mean, I can already imagine the game. It would be amazing on the PS4 or the Switch. Why not? Portability, make it portable. There you go. I cannot speak. It's been a long week. Leave me alone. Mm, but a sequel to Freedom War would be a lot of fun. It's done if it's done right, like with that high super. It needs to have like that super high action, um, and like imagine all of that, like the craziness of Freedom Wars, like with the abductors, the accessories, all of that, but like a huge world to explore. Not necessarily open world because that's not really my cup of tea, but if you prefer it, why not? But to explore the world more, because the world in Freedom Wars, it's really really interesting actually. This very very dystopic and dark future, this huge city-like prisons, kind of like Escape from New York in a way, which would be amazing to explore more of that. Um, of course, because the game is so frustrating, I haven't finished it, so I don't know if it needs a sequel. But of course, we can work things out. And imagine, like, I don't know, you can also add, if you want, like co-op or something like that. That would be so much fun, actually. But it needs to be something high action. I think Platinum could do a fantastic job with Freedom Wars. But who knows? You know. Next, this is something that again there might be a chance. It's weird that it hasn't happened yet, because everyone wants it. Everyone who played the previous 3 games cannot wait for a 4th one, and then it's Golden Sun. I'm surprised that Nintendo is not just developing a 4th game for the Switch. Like a fantastic RPG series such Golden Sun would thrive on the Switch, since it's becoming a very like strong RPG console for RPGs actually, with all that great titles. And I think Golden Sun being more of a Nintendo, it's not really first party because it's Camelot, and now especially with Camelot developing the Mario Tennis game, I think it was them, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, of course, but that game being a big success, considering it's a Mario Tennis game, and I read it like in a month it sold like 1 million copies or some crazy shit like that. Now they can focus. They have probably Nintendo has more trust and more confidence in them, and say, okay, guys, you can do Golden Sun 4 because we need a 4th game. The 3rd on the DS, so it's been a long time. Dark Dawn ended in with a cliffhanger. So you need conclusion on that series, which is so beloved by RPG fans like myself. I played the entire series and it's fantastic. We deserve more Golden Sun, and it can be so easy for Nintendo to properly exploit that series, which that's why it surprises me that they never did it, or at least not yet. I mean, why didn't we didn't have Golden Sun characters in Smash Brothers, for example? I mean, Isaac would be perfect there. You can summon the Djinns, you can have all the synergy powers and all of that. This thing is written by itself, basically. Um, Amiibos, there you go. I mean, you can have the Djinns, you can have characters from the games, so many. So I don't know. I think it's something easy on paper to do because there's so much potential there. And Golden Sun, as I said, it's a really beloved series. But of course, the quality needs to be the first priority. I mean, it needs to be really, really good. But that goes without saying, I think. With all this game I'm mentioning, they have to be good, because if you do a sequel with as much hype and as most of these title, because I think no one gives a crap about Freedom Wars other than me, because I think there's a lot of potential there, but a new proper Fantasy Star, a new Golden Sun, people will go crazy for an announcement like that, so it better be good. Next, this is something I really wish Square would bring back. I mean, Square Enix, and I think again the potential for a grand return, it's there. It's complicated though, and that it's a new Parasite Eve game. that it's one of my favorite series from Square when it was still Squaresoft. I absolutely love Parasite Eve. It's a franchise that I always liked, but as I said, it's complicated because it's not an original franchise by Square Enix. It was created by a writer. Highly recommended the book, by the way. If you have never read Parasite Eve, give it a shot because it's a really good read. But the thing is, because of that, I'm sure there were contract issues when Third Birthday was released. That's why it was so different, or at least there were so many differences from a, let's say, from a real Parasite Eve. Because to me, Third Birthday had elements, but also a lot of different subtle, not so subtle, but small differences that made it very different from what you would expect from a proper Parasite Eve 3. Of course, the fact that none of that is original and property of Square Enix. So probably they said, well, it's not worth it to renew a contract for a game that it's kind of niche, while we can focus on more valuable properties such as Final Fantasy and Kingdom Hearts. So let's do what we can for Parasite Eve. Let's make the Third Birthday. And honestly, I actually enjoyed it. I think while it had issues, first and foremost, I think that game should have been on the PS3 rather than the PSP, mainly for controls issues. Because the PSP, even though I love it, it's really faulted with that single stick. It doesn't work for action games. And especially, of course, that it needed like a bigger story. It needed to be a bit longer because there are some instances like what happened. Even though I think, for what I can remember, the ending of the game explained a lot of stuff. It was a bit like kind of, oh, this thing happened off screen or something like that. I mean, it could have been better, but I think for considering the limits of Square Enix at the time with this specific series, I think they did a pretty good job. But of course, I would love the series to continue. I would love a, let's say, proper Parasite Eve 3. Because even though I like Third Birthday, I would love the series to continue after Parasite Eve 2 and the Third Birthday. Why not even do a fourth birthday? Even though probably the haters are going to go apeshit with that. But I think the potential is there. Like from a gameplay perspective, Third Birthday, it's a lot of fun actually. It's basically a cover-based shooter with that additional mechanics of, I think it's called the overdrive, and I might be wrong, which made the game even more fun. I mean, I really enjoyed it. But of course, I mean, the fact that it couldn't use any real Parasite Eve content, like it couldn't use the mitochondria, it couldn't use mitochondrial Eve and all of that, kind of essential parts of the story due to contract issues, I imagine. It felt incomplete in a way to me. And again, it needed a bigger story as well. But I think a properly made sequel to Parasite Eve on the PS4 would be amazing. It can work very well. But I really don't think that's a priority for Square Enix. But who knows? They might surprise me. I mean, they nurtured Nier, even though that was not a success on the PS3, for what I know, and Xbox 360. And yet we got a phenomenal game such as Nier Automata. So who knows? Everything can happen, right? This is, as I said, this is a bit more complicated due to other issues, but who knows? Who knows? They might surprise us. And finally, this is what I said before, like this is maybe the most likely. It's the more 50-50 because it's kind of a big series and it's been quite successful on the previous generation, and that is Ninja Gaiden, especially because it was so fresh on my mind since I just beat a Ninja Gaiden game. But I think we should really use a Ninja Gaiden 4 on current systems like PS4, Xbox One, and on the Switch, of course, on the go. That's even better. But especially if done right, because the thing I'm scared if they're going to do it and just to cash in the popular trends, I'm afraid they're going to transform Ninja Gaiden more into a Dark Souls clone, and I think that's the worst thing that can happen to Ninja Gaiden. because Ninja Gaiden needs to be fast and furious, super high action, and all of that. Well, Dark Souls, for what I know, I never played the series, but it's all about slow, clunky controllers, basically. That's where most of the difficulty comes in. But Ninja Gaiden needs to be fast. It needs to be super challenging, though, but not because of clunky controllers, just because it's tough. But it's insane. It's over the top. It's over the top. It's over the top. It needs to be gory. It needs to be with a lot of big boobs, like the rest of the series, because that's what Ninja Gaiden is to me. But and also because the series has got so many reboots and special editions and all of that. But we need a proper fourth game. And I think I've read that Ninja Theory, so I think it's Koei, is actually thinking about it to say it might happen, but I don't know how the sales for Ninja Gaiden 3 were. I heard they were not so good, or at least the game was received like so-so. Um, but who knows? I think it might happen eventually. And I think it should be cool because it is a very cool series. And another thing, something else they could do is like link the series more with Dead or Alive. So by adding a couple of key characters, I think, like for example, it would be amazing to have Kasumi in a more prominent role. So you have Ryu, Kasumi, Ayane, and of course they should add Ayate as well. But maybe it's a bit too similar to Ryu, but they can work things out. But it could be perfect to have those four, which are in a way the four most prominent characters from the Dead or Alive series. And of course, they should add some more original characters, like they did when they created Rachel for Ninja Gaiden on the Xbox. So that could be nice. So it could be a bit more close to Dead or Alive in terms of adding those characters. It needs to be very difficult because the challenge is bread and butter with Ninja Gaiden. It needs to be super high speed and fast action. The gore and everything needs to be over the top. That's what Ninja Gaiden is. I'm just scared that it just might try to do a sort of Dark Souls clone, but I don't think so. But that's a possibility because that's the popular trend, at least for those kind of games. But yes, these are my most wanted sequels. As I said, most of them are not going to happen. Maybe none of these. I think maybe Ninja Gaiden has a chance. But regarding the others, I highly doubt it. So let me know what you think. Definitely do a video response. That could be very interesting. But thanks so much for watching, guys. Like always, see you next time, and take care.